Okay, so thank you everybody for being here. And as we were telling you, we are very lucky because we get to have a little chat with Trevor Mackenzie about his latest book, Inquire Mindset, Question Edition. And I hope that through this chat and the late discussion we are going to have, we can really delve into the question culture and we can help our students open their minds, and we can also help ourselves open our minds. Thank you very much, Trevor, for your time and for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Penny. And I'm excited that everyone's coming together to do everything that you just said. So, bold task, worthy task, and happy to be in learning with you. So, thanks for the invitation. Thanks for reading the book, everyone. Like, what a gift it is for me to hear that teachers there and everywhere are reading the book. So, thank you, Penny, for the time together today.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We know you are super busy, so that was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a couple of questions. Then probably people will ask more and I will try to answer. If not, maybe we will send you some, further questions to get feedback from you.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
But my first question is, why did you decide to continue all your Inquire Mindset books with an Inquire Mindset Question Edition? Why do you think we need a change of mindset?
Yeah.
Why do you
Yeah.
think this book is a start?
Yeah. Well, I'm able to visit schools around the world, and I'm very grateful for that chance. I share that humbly, and over the years, I get a lot of questions about questions. And it seems to be a sticking point for teachers. It seems to be a space of tension in the inquiry practice is, I've launched a provocation, I've gotten my students curious, and now I've got all these questions. What do I do with them? And I'd visit schools and I'd see these beautiful question walls or wonder walls, and a lot of them were gathering dust. Like teachers weren't actively using them, and it felt kind of superficial, but it also lacked opportunity for teachers to actually partner with students more beautifully and more authentically. So slowly I started to create what we call question routines, these structures that allow students to sort and organize their questions and allow teachers to get this real-time data and information from our students that we use to guide our practice and guide our next steps in planning. And questioning is a byproduct of curiosity. So just as I said, if we get our kids curious, they're going to have a bunch of questions about the curriculum. We need something to help organize those questions to deepen our students' kind of understanding of questions, but also help them become stronger questioners as well. So there are a few reasons why. I'd say the first one, the big one, was because I was just fielding so many questions about questions. It was a clear point of tension in teachers' practice, and I wanted to support them just
Yeah.
as I had been exploring with my own students, Penny.
Okay, yeah. In your book, you mentioned as well that questions also help co-designing learning.
Yeah.
So they are vital for that. And that you need consistency.
Yeah. 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 Let's talk about that co-design piece for a moment. So,
Yeah.
inquiry teachers value co-designing, and co-designing is planning next steps with your students, partnering with them, fielding conversations, curating their responses. And we can co-design so many different things in the classroom. Some teachers co-design the essential agreements, the classroom norms of how we're going to interact with one another and build a community. Some teachers co-design success criteria. Some teachers co-design descriptors or indicators of certain skills or ATLs. And so question routines allow us to partner with our students in an area that sometimes we don't co-design, which is questioning and curiosity. So the structures allow co-design to happen more beautifully, a little bit more easily as well. The structures, the routines just present a nice framework for teachers to plan towards. So co-designing isn't as nebulous or uncertain. It's actually quite clear how we use their questions to guide next steps, Penny.
Okay. So you also said that questions make active learners, which is connected with what you just said, and that they shift the focus to a student's voice. Have you
Yeah.
seen that in your experience along schools? because
Yeah.
that's
So
connected with co-designing as well.
yeah, absolutely. So when we say active learners, we mean two things, don't we? We mean physically active. So
Mhm.
students with the routines, they get out of their seats, they get out of their chairs, they get out of their desks, and they're actually moving questions around. And some beautiful things happen when kids physically engage in the learning. They self-regulate. They find agency over their bodies and then they collaborate. They're so much more communicative and collaborative when they're actually standing on their feet. So the physical activity is one component of what we mean by active, but then the cognitive activity is something we want to spark as well. We want to spark thinking. And in sorting their questions and their routines and moving them around, we also call them to justify their placement of their questions. So there's some rich thinking that happens. The routine itself allows both physical action and cognitive action. So that's fantastic. And then number two, the second point you raised is we want to share the landscape of learning. So it's just not all of our questions shaping the learning. We're actively
Okay.
using their questions to shape the learning. That partnership is something that can be difficult for some teachers to get to. Hence why the routines allow us to get there a little bit more clearly, a little bit more confidently. And that all comes from the provocation. Like if we plan a provocation for curiosity and questions, now we can do something with them using one of the routines. And there are 10 routines in the book. So I know we're going to talk about a few in the call today, but there are
Yeah,
10 for us to reflect on and think about which one serves the best purpose for my students and the learning that they're engaged in right now. Does that make sense, Penny?
it makes complete sense. And also related to what you have said about the 10 routines, I've been studying the book a lot, and it has lots of hands-on and practical examples that people who have read it for the book club will have already seen. But I think that it's very visual, and when you are a teacher, you identify the kind of routine that is going to work in your class or the one you have to start with. Anyhow, we have been talking about consistency, about why questions matter. I would like to ask you if you could explain about open questions and closed questions and why they are all valid, because traditionally teachers have been told that closed questions were like the right ones because they had a complete answer and that's what we needed. And in the book, you say that both of them are valid. Could you go a little bit, deeper
Yeah,
into
I'm
that?
so glad that you're bringing this up. So it's one of the earlier chapters in the book where we talk about
Yeah.
close and open, and we need to bring these terms or words that are similar to these terms directly to our students. So some teachers call them shallow and deep. Some teachers call them thin and thick. Some teachers call them closed and open. We need to bring this language to our students. That's a move we
Mhm.
need to make. But the importance of close and open is so important for us to embrace. Closed answers and questions lead us to the exploration of the open. Like we can't
Mhm.
answer an open-ended questions unless we have the information and insights from the closed side of the spectrum. And if we're only doing the open, if we're only we can't answer those open questions without the close.
Mhm.
Conversely, if we're only doing the closed, it's really surface area. It lacks a depth. It's the
Yeah.
easy stuff for us to answer on our phones. It's the easy
Yeah.
stuff for us to find true or false or correct or incorrect answers towards. So if we're only doing the close, it lacks the depth of the open. So we actually need to bring an understanding of both ends of the spectrum. And some of the routines are designed just for that. So students can see what type of question they've asked and where it is along that spectrum, whether it's along a line or along some breadth, some depth. That's really important. So one co-design move we could make, Penny, and this is in the book, and I know this is something you've done with your students. One co-design move we make is we ask students, what comes to mind when we say the phrase close questions?
Yeah.
And we ask them to turn and talk, and they give us some ideas. And students get us started with some indicators for close and indicators for open. And then we make that visible in our classroom on two anchor charts. So now we have some language that guides the sorting and placing of their questions into one of the question routines. So closed and open are equally important. If we're only doing one, I don't think we're providing our students with a robust learning experience. It's going to either feel overwhelming and uncertain, or it's going to feel a little bit superficial and
Totally.
lacking the substance, if you will.
Yeah, that's totally, I mean, in my case, my students decided to use animals, and we have big questions like an elephant, middle questions like a cat, and small questions like a mouse. I'm just looking there because it's on my door.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the way they do it. That leads me to the final question. Well, not final, but to the last question I had on my list. It's because I know we have some, early years and lower primary teachers, and they see that it's quite difficult for them to use like the question routines because of the children's levels,
yeah.
because they are not native speakers, because they don't master the language, or maybe because they don't believe that children are capable. I mean, which is something that if we are consistent, as you said, and as you mentioned in the book as well, will come. So, which question routines or which adaptations do you recommend? Because I've been following what you have been doing, and you have been in year one, you
Yeah,
have been with little ones, and you've
yeah.
had fun with them, and
So
they've
much
been
fun.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So give us some advice.
Some examples, yeah. So, well, number one, I think you raise up something that we just need to all agree on, which is the common belief that all kids are capable. Like we
Yeah,
all need to in a school or when we're reading a book such as this, we have to have the belief that our students are capable, and our job, our responsibility is to help reveal that capability. And I love visiting schools who have that common belief. Like I visit schools around the world where every single teacher in the building believes in that. And when that's the foundation for how we teach, we end up seeing a lot of beautiful things in terms of students demonstrating capability. So
yeah,
that's important. Let's all believe that. Number two, while we bake in scaffolds to support our students in asking and exploring questions. So, one really simple scaffold I appreciate with every routine. So, despite the routine you choose from the book, one really easy scaffold is providing vocabulary from a provocation that they could use in their questions. So, let's engage in a provocation. Let's say we watch a video. And this was something I've done recently with a grade one class. We watched a video. It was a really amazing video, like so compelling and interesting, and the kids loved it. But I paused the video every 2 minutes and I asked them to tell me, what are you seeing? What are you noticing? And as they were telling me words, I scribed them on some anchor charts. And over the course of stopping them 3 times, we had 2 anchor charts of vocabulary that the students identified. And now what I'm going to ask them to do is use that vocabulary in their questions. Now, if I've designed a provocation towards the curriculum, then all the vocabulary that they give us is about the curriculum. And then students that are contributing in that conversation, maybe their first language is not English, or maybe they're learning a new language. They don't have to add to the anchor charts because they have the opportunity to use them afterwards. They benefit from how we're co-designing vocabulary together. So that would be a move, a scaffold for the younger years, is from a provocation, scribe some vocabulary from your students that they could use when they write questions. A second scaffold is give them some question stems. So for closed questions, let's give them some question stems that are actually more along the side of the closed spectrum. And then let's give them some question stems for the open side. This is something I post on my Instagram and LinkedIn that you see it, you use it. So combined with those question stems and the vocabulary anchor charts, now every student has an entry point to begin writing their questions. The trick here is we need to watch and notice as students are writing their questions where we need to drop in and provide some support. Some students are going to look at all those scaffolds and they're going to be really independent and capable. They're going to get writing their questions right away. I don't need to help those students. Who do I need to help? I need to walk around and looking for the students who need me to bring them to the scaffolds, who need me to help them get started, who need me to go point to a question stem that they might use. Those would be 2 really simple scaffolds that we put into place for our littlest learners. But guess what? We don't stop there. Like, why wouldn't I use the same scaffolds for 10-year-olds or 15-year-olds? Right? Let's not presume that all students don't benefit from the scaffolds. Let's presume that all students will benefit from the scaffolds. And then we're just going to look who uses them and who doesn't use them, who's independent and capable, who needs some coaching to get there. So those would be two scaffolds at the younger years. I want to give a third. Can I give one more, Penny? Is that okay?
Yeah, you can
A
give one more.
third scaffold
Perfect.
be the use of images. I love the use of images in the younger years to help them understand questioning. One fantastic website, it's called, oh, what is it called? Is it called Widgets Online? I'll give it to you after the call so you can give it to the group, okay, Penny? But what you
I'm
do on this
writing it
website
down.
is you go and you populate the search bar with a question, and then it will surface images associated
Oh,
to the questions.
wow.
So if we ask a question like, how did the dinosaurs die? It will populate images for each one of those words. So there'll be an image that is a how image, and then there'll be an image for the dinosaur, and then for die there may be like a tombstone from a grave, and then students can associate the word of the question with the image of the question. When we're talking 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, the image is the underneath the literacy. That's where we're starting with the literacy. So that would be a fantastic website as well. It's not a free website. You can have a free trial, but all schools I work with that are engaged in working with the younger years, teachers end up buying a little subscription because it's really helpful to bring images and words together to create meaning. Does that one make
No,
sense, Penny?
it makes complete sense and it's amazing. I mean, with my students, I use drawings and pictures,
Yeah.
especially at the beginning, but I'm gonna try the website. Yeah.
Yay.
And
Well, I'm going to
the
show you
word
something in
bank,
the book. Go ahead.
tell me
Please
some-
continue as
I
I
have
find
I
something in
have
the
your
book.
book here as well, so I can show you. No, I was just saying that about the word bank that you were mentioning, writing all I did that with your book this summer. So I have
Did
my
you
little
really?
bubble. Yeah, I have my little bubble with my word bank. So I was working like one of my students.
That's great. I love that. So on around a page 100, there's a colleague from the UK. Her name's Lydia. And Lydia used that website. And here are some photos of her students. These are little kids. These are 4-year-olds. And what you see
Yeah,
here are they've used the website where it's populated all their questions with images. So this would be everyone that is in the early years is in this book club. They can go and read Lydia's example and they could see the type of questions students are asking and how the images lead to them using the question routine, right? So
this is
it's
what's special
definitely,
about this book. Yeah,
go
it's
ahead. Sorry, I
special
didn't
because
catch
it
that.
has examples from all
Ah,
age groups. That's
yeah.
what I love.
Thank you. Thank you. I love the
Writing
book.
is
Can I
so
tell you why I
important.
love the book? I love the book in part because of what I just showed you. There are all these teacher samples, right? Every chapter has several teacher stories where they show photos and they talk about how they implemented the routines. And then what we see, as you see on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, you see teachers sharing photos of the routines in action. So we're all just constantly in this space of learning, reflecting, and applying these routines in our classrooms, which is really beautiful. I expect everyone in the book club to share evidence of them using the routines with one another so we could see what everyone's doing and learn from one another. So that would be a little bit of Trevor homework, Penny. Everyone shares evidence and photos of these
Yeah.
routines in action in the book club, okay?
I will, I will. I mean, I'm always sharing what I do and I'm trying everything you recommend. And
Thank
sometimes
you.
it works better, sometimes it's amazing, and sometimes you have to retry and retry. But right now we are using the question pencil and it's one of our favorite ones in class. So
Yeah.
they love it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned something about consistency earlier, and I think that's something
Yeah.
for us all maybe to finish up thinking about is these are routines. We revisit them in an ongoing manner, and every time we use one, it's data to inform our practice. So you had said sometimes it works amazing and it's beautiful, and sometimes not, and I have to go back to it. That's the process that we need to live in as educators is we reflect on the lesson, we reflect on the routine, how can we use that data to inform our next steps? And it's totally okay if it wasn't beautiful every single time, because what it is more agency for our students every single time, which is something they deserve, don't they? Is more agency in their learning. So stick with it. These are meant to be consistently used and routines. And yeah, it's not a one-off. It's not a one, I did that assignment, I did that task with my students, I'm done the thing. I think the book is designed so teachers can explore a bunch of routines and continue to try them on for size in their classrooms.
I agree completely. And that's why I recommend it.
Thank
It's
you.
like every teacher reading it can get a different interpretation for their classes and can have a different point of view. And that's the beauty of the
Absolutely.
book. That's what
Yeah.
I like.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Penny. Appreciate that.
No, it's good. Thank you for sharing, for always sharing and being so generous, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you. So homework assigned from the book club. I'd like to see photos of the routines in action. And I know you
Wow,
and I are going to follow up with regards to any other questions. And in the
perfect.
scope of our days and our weeks in the book club, we'll try our best to make everyone as on the same page as possible. So just let me know how I can help you guys, okay?
Yeah, we will. And thanks a lot. Thank you. It's been amazing.
Thank you, Penny. Appreciate you.